Hey Kubos, what's up? Final here. Today, Final Fantasy Talk. Today, we're going to talk about some more Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy Community Final is here. We are going to talk about that very, very nice Final Fantasy. And today, I want to reply to some comments I got in my previous videos. And some people have been saying that they feel like I'm hating on Final Fantasy 13. I'm not hating on Final Fantasy 13. The only thing that I have a problem is that how long this series has been going on for. It's been going on for almost 5 years now, and that's the only thing that is getting on my head, is that this series of Final Fantasy has been going on long enough. It just feels the same to me. Every year when a new Final Fantasy 13 game comes out, it feels the same, and I just want a new series. I want a new complete series. And today we're going to mainly talk about Final Fantasy 15, and we're going to talk about people who have been hating on Final Fantasy 15 as well. So I think Final Fantasy 15 is going to save the Final Fantasy community. Now, I know a lot of you Kupos and a lot of other Kupos said, oh, to save the Final Fantasy community, I think YouTubers, me, other people, if we work together in YouTube, we can save the community. But really, we can't save the community, really. The only people that can really save this community and getting new people into the community is Square Enix. And they are the only people that can really do that. And Final Fantasy 15, guarantee that a lot of people will join the Final Fantasy community, get Final Fantasy 15. I think Final Fantasy 15 is going to blow up more than Final Fantasy 13, more than Final Fantasy 13. 15 will just blow it up. I wouldn't be surprised if Final Fantasy 15, the single copy of Final Fantasy 15, overwrites Final Fantasy 13 in sales. I would not be surprised at that at all, because this game has been going on for a long time now. Final Fantasy 15, 7 years in development, 8 years, 9 years probably as well, and it's coming to the state where the release date is probably going to come out. Coming out pretty soon anyway, and it just needs to come out. It really needs to come out, because lately on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, all I just see is Final Fantasy 13 people just worrying. They're worrying because, you know, a lot of new people came in when Final Fantasy 13 series was going, and that was their first Final Fantasy game. And they've been hating on other Final Fantasy games because it's not good graphics as their Final Fantasy game, which I think is a dumbass reason to hate on other Final Fantasy games. You can't hate on other Final Fantasy games because the graphics isn't as good as Final Fantasy 13. Of course they're not going to be as good as Final Fantasy 13. It's a PS3 game. Of course it's not going to be good. But you got to give the Final Fantasy game a chance. And when Final Fantasy 15 comes out, we're probably going to get some of those same people as well. But I think a lot of people are going to enjoy Final Fantasy 15. I think Final Fantasy 15 is going to be brilliant. By the way it looks, the graphics, the gameplay, oh god, that gameplay, man. Freaking Iron Giant freaking dropping his sword, freaking free people holding up, or not even free people, just one dude taking the Iron Giant sword and freaking putting it into his damn chest, man. That looks awesome. The new features that it has, the combat system that it has, the way it looks as well, the way you run in the game, everything that I've been looking at this Final Fantasy game just looks brilliant. And to be honest with you, I'm probably going to get some hate for this. I probably will get some hate about this. But I'm just sharing my honest opinion. And you Kubos, everybody else has their own opinion. But for Final Fantasy 13 and 13-2, and who knows for Lightning Returns because I haven't played it yet. But for the 13 and 13-2, to me, those were the easiest Final Fantasy games I've ever played in my life. They were too easy, really too easy. Of course, there's challenges and stuff in there. Of course, there's, you know, really hard battles and whatever. But really, it's really easy. The game is really easy. And anybody can do it. If you're a Final Fantasy fan, been playing Final Fantasy for like 5 years, you know how Final Fantasy goes and everything. You could easily get 100% whatever, do everything in this game really easy in about under 100 hours. It's that easy. It's not that much of a challenge. I got 100% in 13.2 in 60 hours of gameplay, or 60 hours of game file gameplay. That's really short for a 100% Final Fantasy game. Final Fantasy like 7 and 10 and 8 took longer than that, a lot longer, more than double, that's for sure. And then 13 was about 90 hours for me anyway. But for 13.2, 60 hours? Come on, man. Come on, seriously, that's really low. I know I'm probably gonna get some hate for that, but it's the truth. Those games, the 13 and 13.2, were pretty damn short compared to other Final Fantasy games. And the combat system and everything, the ATB system, was pretty easy as well. It was fun. It was fun. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on the combat system or whatever. I'm not saying it's bad or anything. I'm just saying that it was too easy. It was really too easy. And honestly, it wasn't as tactic as other Final Fantasy games as well for Final Fantasy. Because I've played these games for over 14 years now, and by the ways that I've seen for Final Fantasy games and Final Fantasy ways, tactics, gameplay, battle systems, Final Fantasy 13 was the easiest, in my opinion anyway. And when Final Fantasy 15 comes out, the way it looks, the way how this combat system's going, the way how they explain how this open world is going to be huge. This game's going to be pretty damn hard probably, and there's probably going to put a lot more time into it, probably even, excuse me again, probably over 120 hours to get 100%. Now that is a Final Fantasy game. That is a Final Fantasy game. That is a long, good, 100% all completion Final Fantasy game. And of course, since we're in the new generation, they'll probably add more stuff into Final Fantasy 15 as well, but really, that's the case. That's the case because at this point right now where the Final Fantasy community is, I don't see anything to do with Final Fantasy anymore on YouTube. I barely see any new Final Fantasy gameplays, talks, news like I'm doing right now. I don't see it anywhere on YouTube. YouTubers can comment below if you know anybody else because it would really interest me. But I have not seen any other YouTubers, anything like that at all. It's been a very long time since I've seen people doing what I'm doing right now. And when Final Fantasy 15 comes out, I can see a lot of Final Fantasy, I can see a lot of YouTubers anyway, doing Final Fantasy 15. New Final Fantasy YouTubers coming in for Final Fantasy 15. News, reviews, ideas, basically what I'm doing right now. A lot of people will be coming in because people right now, how they're looking at our community, they look at the same thing all the time because it's been going on the 13 cycle for 5 years now, basically almost 5 years now, and 3 months. So in 3 months it would make it 5 years, but you know, 5 years basically. So that's why people aren't joining our community, because they just look at it as the same thing for the past 5 years. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them for thinking that way, because it's honestly 50-50 truth and 50-50 false. It's truth because Final Fantasy 13 and 13.2, the difference with the combat system and the story, was basically the same. Of course, the same characters and everything, but it just was the same story, wasn't it? Because a lot of people didn't get that interest of the 13 story at all at the start, and when Final Fantasy 13 ended, it just didn't hint anybody for a 13.2. Nobody was thinking of a Final Fantasy 13.2 when Final Fantasy 13 first came out, and the ending to Final Fantasy 13 did not hint to a Final Fantasy 13.2 at all. The only thing that would really make you think of a 13-2 was Fanil and Fang at the end, and Crystal at the end of 13. That was the only hint of a 13-2. Everything else, no. And then when 13-2 came out, they just added all this stuff, all this story, all this additional story that did but did not happen in 13, and basically made it into a sequel. And then at the end of 13-2, then they basically did make it a sequel ending, and it said to be continued as well. Then, of course, there's a 13-3, and a lot of people were freaking out. I was excited. I was pretty excited at first, but right now, when I'm thinking about it, I wish I just wish the happy ending was at 13-2, because if they didn't do the Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 15 would have been a lot closer done right now to this day, and a new series would come out, and a lot of new people will come in. Now, I'm just saying this because I honestly think that Final Fantasy 15 will just help. I'm just saying this because I know that this would help the Final Fantasy community, because I don't want to see the community that I've been in for years to go down, and I don't want it to go down because of other Final Fantasy games that have been taking long and been taking too much of the series of Final Fantasy because of that. I want, if this community goes down, I want it to go down in a good way, not in a pathetic way at all. I wanted to go in a good way. Like, if Square Enix eventually does a Final Fantasy game, like the last Final Fantasy game, and it'd be outrageously great, that is the way that I want this community to, well, it wouldn't really end, but it would just stay paused and continuing going on other Final Fantasy games, but it wouldn't do a new at all. And basically that's what's happening right now for the past 5 years, was that, and it's still going. It's basically the same thing over and over again, and when Final Fantasy 15 comes out, it's going to be a new, and a new is always good. You know what they say, doors closes and another one opens to a great thing. And basically that's what's going to happen, because this door for Final Fantasy 13 has to close. It just has to close. It just needs to be done, because Final Fantasy 15, the way it looks, the hype that's getting right now, the really big hype. Everybody at E3, when Final Fantasy 15 was shown at the first second, everybody was just like, "Oh my God, Final Fantasy 15! What?" Everybody was so excited. It was, That's the hype that we need. That's the hype that we need in our Final Fantasy community. But whenever there's a Final Fantasy 13 Lightning Returns trailer or whatever, people are just like, "Oh, that's cool, I guess." That's how they're like. That's how they are like, and it's honestly true. And to the Final Fantasy 13 fanboys that may not like this commentary or video at all, that is the honest truth. That is the honest truth, that people are like that. People are more hyped for Final Fantasy 15 than the Final Fantasy whole 13 series at all. It's honestly true. I'm saying this out of my own opinion, but I'm saying this as the point of view as the community that I've been seeing, and it's really true. It's really true. When Final Fantasy 15 trailers come out, people are like, "Oh my God, what? This looks amazing. When is this game? When is this game? When is it going to come out?" But when it's the Final Fantasy 13 Light Returns trailer, people are just like, "Oh, yeah, I guess that's pretty cool, but, it feels like the same thing, same characters, same story." That is how it's like. That is how it's like, and I think Final Fantasy 15 is just going to save this community. It's going to save it, because, honestly, if they made a 13-4, this community would be dead. It would be really dead, because, honestly, I'm getting sick and tired of Final Fantasy 13 all the time, every day that I'm looking at it. It just gets more boring to me every single day, because it's been going, it's Final Fantasy 13 is the longest series of Final Fantasy going to this date in Final Fantasy ever, and it's boring. It's really boring looking at the same characters, the same stuff, playing the same game, doing the same stuff with that Final Fantasy game every single day. Now, I know what some people are going to say. I know what some people are going to say about me. Final Fantasy X, that game is about 12 years old and you keep playing it over and over and over and over again. Yes, I do that. I play Final Fantasy X over and over and over and over again every single year. But the thing is that game actually ended. That series actually ended. It stopped. It stopped, and new Final Fantasy games come out. It doesn't mean I can't replay it and whatever, but the series stopped. In Final Fantasy X and X-2, that series only took a year and a half to end, and that's it. And now Final Fantasy 13 is taking 5 years. That is ridiculous. It's honestly stupid, and I hope they don't do that with Final Fantasy 15. I really just don't. I just hope it won't do it with Final Fantasy 15 because, you know, the sequel stuff is cool and stuff, but honestly, the 13 story to me is pretty boring to do a sequel to. It's pretty boring. I don't really get the story at all. Like, I do get the story. I get what's going on and everything. But in my mind, I think, why would you make a sequel to this? Why would you make a sequel to this? It's not as interesting as other Final Fantasy games. Well, not only Final Fantasy games that really got a sequel or a prequel was Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy 7, and that's it. Those were the only 2 games. And this game, Final Fantasy 13, is just, I don't know. It's getting boring. It's getting boring for me anyway, and I just want a new series. I want a new Final Fantasy series, and Final Fantasy 15 is gonna blow up. It's gonna blow up. It looks amazing. Everything. Square is an awesome developer. Don't get me wrong, but the same stuff that they've been doing for the past 5 years needs to end, and thank God it's ending. And when Final Fantasy 15 comes out, a lot of more people are going to have a lot more respect for people. Hell, even probably people who left the Final Fantasy community are going to come back to the Final Fantasy community, and also new people are going to come back into the Final Fantasy community. So that's what I think, Kubos. And also, just want to say this one more thing to people who probably going to say something about me in Final Fantasy X. Yes, I know a Final Fantasy X HD is coming out, and I know that what you're going to think is like, oh, they're not done with the Final Fantasy X series, they're making a remake of it, blah, 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 blah. See, the thing is, that's just a remake. They've done the story, they've done the characters, the battle system and everything. The only thing they work on is the graphics, some music, and adding in the international version and everything. That's basically what they're doing. They've already done the whole story, everything, characters, battle system. It doesn't take them long to make a remake. It really doesn't take them long to make a remake. And the new Final Fantasy games, of course, take longer, and that's what we need. That's what we need, is a new Final Fantasy game to save this Final Fantasy community. So anyway, Kubos, you let me know in the comments below what you think about this. Do you think Final Fantasy 15 is the way for the Final Fantasy community? Do you think it's the way for saving Final Fantasy? Are you Final Fantasy 13? You know, Final Fantasy 13 Live Returns, I got it on pre-order. I can't wait for the game and everything. Don't get me wrong, I'm gonna play it and everything. But yeah, you know, are you happy that it's ending? Are you happy that the 13th series is ending and it's finally moving on to new series? You let me know in the comments below, Kubos. And yeah, this video is fucking long, but hey, oh well, I just wanted to get a point out there. And yeah, if haters hate, haters hate. So yeah, so anyway, Kubos, you let me know in the comments below. And yeah, so anyway, Kubos, hope you enjoyed. I'm Final, and I'm out. Yeah, and here, this is a hint to the next video that I'm posting tomorrow of No Spear Grid Final Fantasy X. Here's the hint to the video, Kubos. If you're playing Final Fantasy X International, or if you're playing Final Fantasy X HD in the near future, you get this shit now. You do it right now.